Ryan, just right off the bat, I just kind of wanted to have you share a little bit more of your story because truth obviously has made an impact in your life. So tell us a little bit about how has truth changed everything in Ryan Pauly's life?
Yeah, my goodness. Well, it's changed the trajectory of my life. I grew up in a Christian home, grew up in a Christian family, went to Christian school, and so I understood that Christianity was true, and I knew the Bible stories, and I knew the stuff that you learn in Sunday school. And I went off to college, and I tried to live for Christ. I was at a junior college, secular school, and the guys around me were partying and sleeping around and doing things, and I tried to stand firm for my Christian convictions. And what's interesting, trying to condense so much in a short amount of time, but I think we'll often study theology. And I got into my theology degree, and I realized I hardly know anything about Scripture. I knew the Bible verses, I knew the Sunday school stories, but I didn't really understand the overall theme of Scripture. I couldn't tell you, why did Paul write Philippians? What's the theme of Philippians? What's going on there? What's he communicating? And just the deeper things of the doctrine of God. What are the attributes of God? Why did Jesus have to die on the cross? There's all these deeper questions. It's like, well, yeah, Jesus died for my sins. Well, why couldn't he just say, I forgive you? Well, I don't know. Why death? Why blood? Why this? And there's just all these deeper theological issues I didn't realize, I didn't know, just kind of growing up. And so that's kind of started my journey to really desiring and understanding to know more of Scripture. But really what changed everything for me is I graduate from college, I go off to be a missionary in the Dominican Republic, and I start working with students, and I'm seeing students walking away from the faith. And I started thinking, what can be done? And I started thinking, I think the students like me didn't have an answer, an understanding of why they believe what they believe. And so I started trying to investigate and figure out how to answer these questions, not knowing that this thing called apologetics existed. And it wasn't until I was talking to my brother about it. He told me about William Lane Craig, great philosopher, theologian, apologist, and I watched some of his debates. I'm like, this is what I've been looking for. And this is where I kind of say in my life, the big transformation change. And it's kind of this perspective. Catholic theologian Thomas Aquinas kind of puts it this way. He talks about the non-believer looks at the world to understand what is the immediate kind of cause of an event. Versus the believer doesn't just look at the initial cause, the believer looks at the first cause. Because that is the way in which God has created, to show God's glory, to show his power, to show his majesty. And I started realizing how much in my life, it's like, hey, I had fun with my friends. Why? Or I had a good night. Why? Because I hung out with my friends. And I would stop there at that initial cause. Rather than saying, why was I able to have fun tonight? Because God created us as relational beings. That we are made in this way, that we had the ability to laugh and to communicate and to be friends with each other. And then I started looking at the whole world around me that way, not just oh, that's a pretty mountain, but God, you are the cause and the source of this beautiful mountain that I'm seeing. And then I started kind of seeing things in a similar way as Abraham Kuyper puts it, a theologian. I love this quote where he says, there is not a square inch in the whole domain of human existence in which Christ, who is sovereign over all, does not cry out, mine. And that is when I think the transformation just absolutely flipped, that rather than just seeing all these things as, well, this is what made this event fun, and this is where I got this ability, and I learned this from this one person, everything comes back to how God has created and designed things to be, and ultimately, he is the source of all things, as Colossians chapter 1 says. And so for that, that's when my eyes opened, and I was like, this is amazing. God is in everything. No matter what we do, we can see him and understand him and know him more and deeper because of it. And that just radically kind of ignited my life right after college and kind of spurred me into this whole kind of apologetics world.